Hello and welcome to an episode of The Path to Transformation. My name is Tammy and I'm a podcaster. I am a life transitions coach and I am a sound healer. And today I want to talk with you a little bit about our inner dialogue, the inner voice that we have, and choosing one of compassion. So before we hop in, I want to let you know about 3 things. The first being To Be Magnetic. So To Be Magnetic is a neural manifestation program. So with the Pathway membership, you are allowed access to a bunch of different workshops, and these ones help you with things like money, love, your shadow. So they help you get to your subconscious mind and reprogram, because we have neural pathways. So it helps you reprogram these neural pathways, create new ones, so that we can actually make change and start living the life that we are dreaming about. Next thing being Ally Banking. So with this bank, 2 years ago now, so 2023, basically 2 years ago. But in 2023, I was like, I really want to get my finances together, because as women, it's important for us still to know what's going on, So I made it my goal to start getting my finances together, and I found Ally Banking, and this is a high yield savings account. So I have a referral code below if you would like to check it out. So a high yield savings account, basically you have much higher interest because there is no branches, like in-person branches. So you can make literally, from my experience, anywhere from $10 to nearly $20 in interest a month, which is really good. And you can make different buckets. So it's fun, it helps me be organized, and helps me save money. Who doesn't want to save money? And the code is below if you'd like to check it out. And the last thing being, I want to let you know about my one-to-one coaching sessions. So these are one-to-one sessions, single sessions that you can look at. You can look at below the link to learn a little bit more. So I like helping individuals that are going through or want to make a life transition of some type. So whether that's changing a job, moving, or just starting to dive into the dream that is on your heart. You can check below to learn more and book a session. All right, so talking today about our inner dialogue. So I have 6 reminders for you to develop more self-compassion. Before we hop in, I want to let you know I am not a medical professional. I am not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. So if you are in need of mental health help of any type, please get the help that you need and seek that out. I've had to myself in the past, and I'm so glad I did. So I'm coming to you as these are some of my experiences, things I've learned, things that I am looking within and learning. So none of it is medical advice for you. All right. So 6 reminders to develop more self-compassion. So I was sitting down, starting some work, and I've been trying to wake up earlier in the mornings. And I was already annoyed because I was kind of late. And I was I only have a few minutes before I have to go to work. Not a few minutes, a few hours before I have to go to work. And with ADHD, it's so hard with your time. I have to visualize a clock and then see how much time I actually have, but I know it's going to take me 45 minutes to get ready. So anyway, and I noticed I'm what am I saying to myself right now? I'm beating myself up, and it made me think about the inner dialogue and realize I want to share this with you because I'm sure this is something maybe that you need to hear as well. So we all have this inner dialogue and sometimes it's positive, maybe in more people's experience. Sometimes it is not. Sometimes it's literally the worst voice that you hear, because I know that my inner voice, wasn't always nice, and it's literally something to this moment, I am still learning how to do and work on. Now, sometimes it's situational, for the example of not waking up early for me. But sometimes for more people, it is literally a constant negative. They're always beating themselves up with the words that they're saying to themselves. So what is your normal or your constant with this inner voice that you have? Because I noticed that mine was critical, mine was harsh, and mine was basically extremely judgmental of, wow, like, you didn't wake up early again, great, like, way to go, you seriously can't do that. And that's basically what my voice sounded like oftentimes. I really realized, though, that I, in a sense, was addicted to this talking negatively to myself, because it was literally a pattern since even before middle school, I'd say. And I'm just so used to having that constant, or that, whatever we want to call it, like vibration, inner vibration of that negative space, that I would still unknowingly do things to like sabotage myself so that I would still say these negative things. So in the example of like waking up early, like I'd still set my alarm, but I might press snooze like 2 or 3 times, and then I would wake up and then be saying those negative things. So I would literally set myself off in a way, I realized. And some of us don't know we're doing that. So I want to talk about learning to choose an inner dialogue of compassion and understanding rather than talking negatively. And I say choose because it is something that we have to like actively, sometimes some of us have to actively be aware of that we're doing, and we have to actively choose more positive and better language that we're saying to ourselves. Now, here's some things to understand about ourselves and just like know and accept. So first things first is that you are human, you are not a robot, you are not AI. So we're not going to be perfect, we're not going to know everything, we are going to make mistakes, and every day is not going to be perfect. And this is something that I have to remind myself of, because sometimes I would wake up and I'd be like, I just want to have it to be happy sunshine day, but like there's other things going on in my life and they're not. So just knowing that you are human. So as you're on this journey of changing your inner voice, you're not a robot, okay? None of us are perfect. Perfect is also subjective. So what is perfect, you know? Okay, number 2 is that it is your first time on Earth, if you believe that. Some people think they have past lives, I don't know. But as you who you are today, this is your first time on Earth, on this planet. So we are all in Earth school right now. We are all learning how to be humans, and we are all learning and making mistakes every day. So as we like might be in the pattern of beating ourselves up, remember this, that you are still a human, you are learning, you are on this path, making choices, making changes, so you aren't going to make the right choices all the time. With that thought, your parents are also, this is also their first time as them, you know, this is their first time being parents, being your parent. So, because some people, and myself included, have had the, I've had the pattern or the, what's the word I'm looking for? I've found myself putting some blame on them, you know, oh, like, why didn't they raise me with more, like, giving more compliments of, like, how good of a worker I am, rather than, like, oh, you're just so nice, and, like, you're so cute, like, why didn't they give me, you know, more? So I kind of have been in a pattern in the past of kind of putting blame on them, and, like, why didn't they do this? But I had to catch myself many times, realizing, like, okay, they're only human, this is their first time being parents, I can't put blame on them, I have to take some responsibility myself of the situation. So kind of, as I said in my like last episode, learning about this victim versus victor mindset. So I'm taking it in my hands to have more of the victor mindset of like, okay, I can make this change. It's not like, oh, because of how I grew up, like, this is why I can't do anything. No, I know and understand that I have control of some things, and I have to take it in my hand to make that change. So we are learning, and we're not going to know everything. And that also comes with like the growth mindset as well, of knowing like with practice I'll get better. So no matter what it is that we're trying to do, with practice we'll get better. Like, it's not actually failure, you're just keep trying, right? So the third thing I want you to remember as you're trying to change your inner dialogue and gain this voice of compassion. We all have our own stories, we all have our own experiences, we all have our own trauma, or if you want to call it, baggage, that we have in our lives that we've experienced. And it's important to remember and understand that like there's patterns, and like the things that we do and choose sometimes are still because of our past. So until like I gain the awareness of like, okay, growing up with an alcoholic, this has made me become a little codependent. Until I gained that awareness, I was beating myself up over like a lot of things, or like my issues with relationships, like romantic relationships and stuff. I was putting a lot of blame, and my inner dialogue was definitely like very negative. But understanding that we all have our things that we went through, and that they still affect and shape some of the choices that we make today. That's really important to become aware of that. And also with that, we can know that, but we don't have to let it define us. But again, it's really important. Gaining the awareness is very helpful when it comes to making the change. And I think like knowing that, it really takes the blame off of ourself, and it kind of helps to, I don't know if this is the right word, but like depersonalize, because I feel like a lot of us are really attached to like, oh my gosh, like I can't do anything, I'm not like good enough or whatever. But when we understand that and we look at it as like, okay, there's another part, and that's kind of the story how I grew up. That part, if I kind of separate it from like me and who I am as a person, that to me, like that helps me move forward and like deal with the situation. So it's not like a me thing, it might be an old part of the story and an old pattern that I gain awareness of. Number 4, the fourth thing I want you to remember is that when it comes down to it, we are all our own harshest critic. A lot of us are our number one, like, meanest troll, our meanest fan, whatever you want to call it. And I mean, and unfortunately some people's cases, sometimes it's their parent, but nobody literally is as hard or judging us as hard as sometimes we are ourselves. So as you like try to go about your day, like doing things, keep in mind, like we're the ones oftentimes judging ourselves, and we're going through, you know, and that's why like we have such a maybe negative inner dialogue sometimes, is because we are our harshest critic. The fifth thing to remember is that if you are a female, you have female reproductive system, that I can't even stress this enough. Every like week we are literally, some of us are literally a different person every single week. So as you go about your day and you know you want to get in the pattern of saying this about yourself or saying this about yourself, sometimes, some weeks, some days, we are literally going to be almost a different person. And also depending on like your hormones and stuff, because the last few days I have been able to do nothing, like literally nothing. And I'm like, what the heck? But now that I have this understanding of, oh my gosh, well, 1, I have PCOS, but 2, our cycles make us different people like every single week. And now instead of when this week happens, instead of beating myself up, I'm trying to have more of the voice of compassion and understanding, and knowing like, hey, I'm not gonna really be productive that week. And I think I still had that pressure on myself, honestly, the past few days of like, oh, I should be productive, da da da. But now I know that I really need to schedule like nothing that week. And also that month to month it might be different with my PCOS diagnosis that I don't want to accept because I'm going to be fine, I'm going to change it. So when you're feeling like you can't complete anything, maybe when you are on your period or whatever, knowing that it's not you and your fault, but it's just something like that your body is going through. So kind of like I said earlier about that, like depersonalizing, like taking yourself out of that situation. So it's like not your fault. So understanding like it's just something that you're going to go through. Number 6, the 6th thing I realized was that we all have like self-sabotaging patterns that we go through, that we do. This is something I really wasn't aware of until this year. Everybody's patterns might be different, but for example, for me, one of them was, and this could be tied to ADHD, like whatever, but being easily distracted. So my phone, scrolling, not really realizing, numbing it out. Obviously I know it's designed to like do that, but that was one of my patterns. Like I want to avoid doing my work right now. Let me go on my phone and scroll. Another thing like I caught myself doing was jumping from task to task. So I would like maybe pick up my phone to text somebody back, but in the midst of texting somebody back, I'd remember that I had to send an email, so then I'd go to my email and I felt like I would never get anything done. So I know that's probably tied to ADHD, but being aware of that pattern has really helped me realize like, oh shit, I need to let's just do one thing, complete one thing, move to the next. So because of those patterns that I was mentioning, like the ones that I'm experiencing myself, those have caused my dialogue and kind of kept my dialogue being consistent. Okay, so I want to run through a little exercise I've been doing that's been helping me. And you've probably heard maybe of some of these in your own research. So the first thing is that I sometimes run through a little bit of a meditation. So with this meditation, I am connecting to my younger self, and this little inner self, this inner child of me is probably like 7, and she feels lonely, she feels isolated, she feels unloved, she feels not good enough. So that's kind of the voice that sometimes I still have in my head. That's like the inner dialogue, is kind of that inner child still. So I visualize with my eyes closed, sitting down, usually laying down. I'm visualized like in my childhood room, and as I close my eyes, in my childhood room, and my older self, like currently / higher self, the girl that's like unstoppable, whatever, whoever like I visualize her as, she sits down with her, but I kind of see it from like behind. I see like my back, so I see like both of us, and then my younger self kind of says like, what am I going through? So I'll think in my head like what I'm going through, what's hurting, my feelings, or what I'm struggling with, and then my higher self will give her advice, and then I'll kind of imagine them hugging. Now if I'm not doing a physical meditation, if I don't have that moment, I will notice the pattern of what I'm doing, what I'm saying, and obviously it'll be negative, it'll be critiquing myself, criticism, and I will think about that inner child, and I'll be like, okay, she's not feeling really good, what is it? I'll mention the feeling that I'm having, and then I will think about my higher self, older self, current self, whatever, and what would she actually say? What does she know to be true? What is her voice? And that her voice is always one of love, of compassion, and of understanding. And what would she say? So for example, like me not waking up early, let's say, she'll know that my higher self would said to myself like, hey, you were on your period this week. Like, of course, you're not going to be waking up early. You're going to be more tired. It is not your fault. And like, I will literally accept that of what my higher self said. I'm like, okay, I know that to be true. So I know this probably sounds like crazy and all over the place, but so ultimately knowing that we have an inner child, we have an inner teenager, and just knowing that we are still making choices sometimes and still operating and still speaking to ourselves with those voices, and then trying to think about our higher self or your conscious self, whoever. How would they talk to yourself? With the voice of love, with the voice of compassion, with the voice of understanding. Because we really, a lot of us don't realize how negative we are. And like I said earlier, we're sometimes our own worst critic, harshest critic. So becoming aware, this has been so helpful for me, but honestly, like friend to friend, this is something that I am working on daily currently, because I notice I'm still beating myself up, and I still was addicted to keeping myself in a negative state and self-sabotaging myself, whether that be like trying to go after an unavailable partner or whatever. No, the day gets to be this good, things get to be this good, and that's just what I had to realize. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode today, whether it's on YouTube or you're listening to it on the podcast. I'm so excited to have had you, and really am grateful for you tuning in. But if you haven't already left a review, shared it with a friend, subscribed, please do that so you don't miss an episode and you can keep going on the path to transformation with me. And if we aren't already connected, I would love to connect with you. My Instagram, TikTok, on YouTube is TammyU_wellness. So be sure to say hi there. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you on the next one.